This is the third of 4 parent sessions to support family members and caregivers in supporting students with our transition to online learning. We appreciate your grace and your patience as we learn some things and shift some things as we're learning about what's working for schools and staff and for the community in our shift to cloud learning. So do feel free to ask us questions as we go. If we don't immediately respond, we'll be sure to put answers to those questions on our FAQ page out on the Northshore Learns website. We do have an intro from our esteemed superintendent, Dr. Michelle Reed. This was recorded this morning, and so it's going to sound specific to this morning, but the message is consistent with what we're sharing with families as we do these parent sessions. If you have a little struggle listening to the video, just know that this session is being recorded and we will post it online for you to view later.
Hello, North Shore families. It's fabulous to have you online this morning. And I want to begin by thanking each of you so much for taking the time to be online and participating in a conversation about the importance of this transition from classroom to cloud. I am so grateful you're on the journey with us and want to remind you that in every possible way, community is maintained as long as we maintain our connections. So at this point, I'm going to turn and have Shelby and the team work with you on some updates, and I want to assure you that as questions come in, we'll be responsive today. And tomorrow morning, we'll begin an online update every morning with the most frequently asked questions. So let's have a fabulous North Shore day and imagine the possibilities.
Excellent. So again, just to repeat, for those of you that are just joining us, we're going to use the Q&A box or the Q&A feature in Zoom to field your questions. There is a little, oh, it's not in there today. In previous sessions, we've been able to upvote questions. We're not apparently doing that this time. But again, thank you for your patience as we learn new ways of supporting our families and the community. Here are the things we're going to cover in today's noon session of our Northshore Learns parent support sessions. With you today, of course, Shelby Reynolds, I'm pictured there at the bottom, and then in the background here I have Katie Bjornstad, and I also have Rick Farrell. We're going to be covering what is this Northshore Learns, what are we hoping to accomplish with moving learning to the cloud. We're going to talk about why parent partnership is so important in this initiative. We'll give you some strategies for supporting your student or students at home, some tips for communicating with teachers, and then a variety of ways to stay in the loop and ask for support. So why Northshore Learns? Well, first and foremost, Northshore is uniquely situated in an area where the outbreak affects us somewhat disproportionately. Like our neighbors in some close by districts, we have a higher proportion of folks that are potentially exposed to some of the outbreaks of coronavirus. And we also have a large number of staff that fall into one of those groups that might be susceptible to contracting the virus. So the option of keeping schools open is one that we had to consider carefully because of safety and health issues for our students and for our staff. And we wanted to make sure that we were only opening schools if we could safely do so. We decided, I should say the superintendent decided after lots of thought and lots of input from a variety of stakeholders that it was not safe to do so, and we decided to shift learning to the cloud. So Northshore Learns is our way of providing families with resources that they would need to transition their students to online learning during this time where school buildings are closed. We're constantly updating a set of resources for you on the Northshore Learns website. And that website is www.nsd.org/NorthshoreLearns. There's some flutter out in the community with a variety of websites that are not accurate in terms of the URL. It is nsd.org/NorthshoreLearns. That is the website. That is your one-stop shop. That is the place to go to get all the most current information about this initiative and how to support your student. Your school website may also have additional information. We highly recommend that you visit both sites to stay current with both what your school is doing and what the district is doing as a whole. And first and foremost, we really just want to be proactive in the support that we're providing to families in the community. We can't do this without your partnership, and so it's our goal to provide you with the supports that you need to be successful. Speaking more about parent partnership, it's important for families and caregivers to understand that they are not going to be teachers for these next few days and weeks. Teachers, Northshore teachers, are responsible for facilitating lessons, for providing activities, and supporting their students in terms of learning content and engaging in an instructional activity. Parents are not teachers. Parents' jobs are to make sure that their children are engaged in that learning and they're staying connected, and that if their student needs additional support, that they're reaching out and advocating for their student to do so. We are not asking parents to all of a sudden be geometry experts or social studies experts. In fact, teachers are still those experts. They're just going to deliver that expertise via an online platform. Whether learning online or in person, research tells us that parent and caregiver support is essential for student success. We can't give students the kind of experience that we want to without you right at our elbow helping students be successful. And part of that might mean providing you some additional support when it comes to connecting to different systems, or finding an expert to help with a student who has special needs. These are all things that we want to partner with you on. And your job really as a parent or a caregiver is to just stay engaged, to stay connected, to ask us for support when you need it. Let's talk a little bit about what e-learning is and what it is not. E-learning is a thoughtful blend of online and in-person activities and lessons. It's a way for us to extend learning beyond the four walls of the school and perhaps invite in experts from other countries or areas of expertise. It's a way for us to differentiate for students, to give them personal learning experiences based on what we know the strengths and needs of that particular student are. And it leverages technology to do all of that. E-learning is not meant to be, it is not our intent, nor should it be, that a student is sitting in front of a computer or a computing device for 8 hours. That is not e-learning. We are not promoting screen time for screen time's sake. We're using technology to deliver instruction, and that instruction and those assignments may take the kids away from devices to go do those assignments and then come back to the technology to be able to submit ideas, thoughts, or assignments. One of the ways that you can help support your student is to make space and time for learning in your home. There's two key elements here. One is to create a family schedule for learning, and the other is to make sure there's a physical space, an environment that welcomes learning. So speaking to the space issue, it's best to find a space that is not the student's leisure space, and that's typically a student's bedroom. If you can find a space to set up as like a student office, in the kitchen, in a family space, in a shared space, a public space, these are all great ways to separate learning and work from the leisure activities that kids engage in. In terms of schedule, schools are being asked to share explicitly the schedules for learning that they're using in their particular school. You should have received some kind of communication from your school or directly from teachers indicating what the schedule would be. And if you haven't received that or you haven't seen those emails, be sure to check your email, but also check junk mail. It is very possible that some of your mail is going into some kind of spam folder or something like that. So be sure to check that for any of those emails about schedule. Schedules are really beneficial because they help the entire family understand when it's work time or learning time and when it's not, when it's playtime. So in addition to the school schedule, you might think about setting up a family schedule. Like, these are the things that we're going to be engaged with, or if you have an older student and they're perhaps at home for some period of the day without supervision, maybe establishing that schedule to keep them on track and help them to understand how to organize their time would be helpful. And then, of course, be sure to schedule breaks, mental health time, outside time, time with small groups of other people. We're really trying to avoid social isolation during this challenging time. We're certainly not advocating for people to get together in large groups, but kids still need to have access to other kids. There still needs to be, opportunity for them to engage with their peers. So think about that as you craft your schedule. To create a supportive network for both you and your student, there are a few tips that we're recommending. The first is to monitor progress. So this is the idea that you should be actively engaged in following along as your student is engaging in these activities. And there's a bunch of ways to do that. One is to put your student in charge. Ask them to log in to the variety of systems that their teachers might be using and to show them to you. Have them be the expert and have them teach you what they're doing. There are also a number of services that teachers are using across the district that let you have a parent account. For example, Google Classroom allows for guardian access to those classrooms, which basically allows you to be notified whenever there's a new assignment or a due date. In order to get that guardian access, you need to contact the teacher. They will generate an email invitation to you that you need to click on to verify that you are who you say you are. And then you'll have guardian access to Google Classroom. A lot of teachers are using Seesaw, and there's a very similar process for that as well. And even if you have middle and high school students, they need guidance and support too. It might be tempting to release them to be independent, but especially during this challenging time, they're going to need your guidance and support. So think about how you're monitoring progress for those older kids. As adults, this is a really challenging time for us too, and we need to remember that our students are relying on us for understanding how to deal with the changes that are happening right now and the uncertainty. And one of the best things we can do is just to remain positive as much as you can. Don't stifle your stress, but process your stress with your student to help them see that there are productive ways to deal with change and uncertainty. They're going to look to you for that modeling. And aim for progress, not perfection. We're not going to do this right 100% of the time right out of the gate. We're going to make some mistakes. And it's okay for kids to see us make mistakes, and it's okay for them to make mistakes too. And then finally, use a support network. Find other people that are dealing with the same issues and struggles that you might be. You can have family study sessions where you leverage older siblings to support their younger siblings. You might set up a neighborhood study group if you know you've got folks within your cul-de-sac or on your street who are attending the same school, maybe at the same grade levels even. In small groups, getting those folks together to have study groups could be really powerful. You could think about rotating supervision responsibilities among the adults in your network. Some of those adults might have content expertise that could support groups of students in things like using Google Classroom, or maybe you know somebody who's got a math background that can support a math study session. These are all great things to do in small groups. We are also hearing that our Northshore PTA Council is working on setting up some sort of online parent support group, so stay tuned for that. Social media is a great way to stay connected. For those of you that are on Facebook, there's a robust NSD discussion group out there with thousands of people in it. These are a couple of posts that I grabbed from this morning that I think just provide some good examples of what people are posting. One person shared a sample schedule. One other person posted a question about network access and having multiple kids online at the same time at home. So these are great ways to leverage the wisdom of the community. If you're not on Facebook, that's fine. There's lots of other social media opportunities for you. There's an app called Band, which is also a group-oriented social media tool. And that might be an option for those of you that want to get something started along those lines. Speaking of technology, it's really important while we're doing online learning and all the other days of the year too, that we should be using technology responsibly. And this is true for staff, for students, and for families that are doing things either with Northshore technology or who are interacting with people online. So first and foremost, all of our students, staff, and families are expected to follow the guidelines in the Northshore Responsible Use Procedure. That's School Board Procedure 2022P. You can find it on our website. In a nutshell, that document, that procedure asks all of our patrons to follow digital citizenship guidelines, being kind online, using resources responsibly, protecting your privacy and your data, and certainly asking for help when you need it. If students need access to a device or a hotspot, families can fill out an online form to make that request known. You can find that on the Northshore Learns website. If not having a device is preventing you from filling out that form online, then all of our school offices and our admin center have paper copies of that agreement. So you can make your request known in person as well. And then finally, all Northshore students have an account that lets them access a variety of tools. That account is student ID at apps.nsd.org. And their password should be unique, but if a student has forgotten their password or they're having login problems, they can contact our family support line, 425-408-7669. Here's just a repeat of some of that information from the previous slide. The two most popular platforms that teachers seem to be using right now are Google Classroom and Seesaw. Google Classroom tends to be used grades 3 and up, although I've seen some good creative uses of Google Classroom in the younger grades as well. And then Seesaw tends to be used more at the elementary level. We've got a couple of schools that are fully using that school-wide. Again, you can log in as your student in those systems using their credentials, or you can email your teacher for Google Classroom Guardian access. And again, empower your student to teach you the ways. They'll love it. Most students would enjoy the opportunity to be what they think is smarter than a parent by showing them something they've learned about technology. So empower them to be in charge. We can't ignore our obligation to support students with special needs. And most specifically, our students that are receiving special ed services are a group that we're paying lots of good close attention to. Our instructional staff who provide those services to students with IEPs are making every effort, every creative effort to deliver the service minutes that are indicated in that student's IEP. That could take a lot of different forms depending on what the IEP says, what the student's needs are, and what access they have to a variety of tools and resources. I was just in a webinar with 212 special ed teachers on Friday, and they are working very hard to come up with strategies to meet this expectation. They care a lot about your kids and they want to do a good job. When services return to the classroom setting, IEP teams can meet to determine if additional services are needed to make sure that we're meeting that expectation. And if you have any questions about your student or you need additional support and your student has an IEP, talk to your student's IEP case manager. In terms of communicating with teachers and with staff, a few things to remember. One is that teachers may initially be sending a lot of communication. I've seen some posts on social media lately that say, the email. There's a lot of email happening right now because teachers are eager to get messages out to families and to students. We're working on thoughtful timing of those messages with teachers, and we're also looking for teachers to identify their emails with subject lines that share the class name or the teacher name. So that it's easier for you to sort through those emails. We're working on that, and we hope to smooth out the communications in the coming days. We also understand that families are possibly receiving emails from multiple children, which just exponentially increases the number of email. We're working on that through thoughtful timing and subject lines. Be sure to check junk mail. We've heard some reports that some folks are getting some of our Synergy communications routed into their junk mail, and depending on your service provider and your email client and all these other things, it's possible that some of those emails are stuck in junk mail. You can also set up, person-to-person meetings using Zoom with the teacher, or if your student's struggling and is younger and they need some support, feel free to leverage email and Zoom and other, the telephone, to be able to get support from the teacher for your student should they need it. And again, there's also a tech support, family tech support hotline that you can call as well. Here are all the different ways to get help and stay connected. We have a great Northshore Learns website. The URL is listed for you there. It is not northshorelearns.com. It is nsd.org/NorthshoreLearns. The family support hotline is listed for you there, 425-408-7669. Be sure to reach out to other parents in your school community. Be sure to leverage the contact form on the Northshore Learns website to make your questions and concerns known. There are a whole team of people working to answer those questions as quickly as possible, and we're working on creating and posting some parent FAQs. So looking at that website may answer some of your questions before you actually feel like you need to fill out that contact form. And then, as we heard Dr. Reed say, our daily morning Northshore news starts tomorrow. So that'll be a way to get some updates as well. And then we're going to continue to have virtual parent meetings. We've got one more scheduled for today at 6 p.m. The content will largely be the same as it was in this session, but we're constantly finding little tweaks and things to add. And we just had a conversation this morning about some possible virtual parent meetings that are topic specific. So perhaps one on special ed support, perhaps one on the tools themselves and giving parents some specific support there. So if you have ideas, feel free to put them in the Q&A or fill out the feedback form on the Northshore Learns website. We're happy to take your input. Just as a reminder, this session was recorded. We will be posting this recording on the Northshore Learns website, so look for that recording to be up within the next few hours. The morning session from today and Friday session were also posted, so you can find those postings there as well. And we look forward to supporting you. Again, reach out if you need support. We're happy to help, and thank you for your partnership as we move to the cloud.